Hi, everyone. Welcome in to another Stock Talk episode here on the KE Report. I am chatting, as always, with Quinton Hennigh, geologist, private investor, and geologic advisor to Crescat Capital. We're going to be going through three more stocks that you have all sent us: Irving Resources, Novo Resources, and Arizona Gold and Silver. Just a quick note before we get into this. Look, we appreciate all of you sending us these companies. We're going through as many of them as we can. But if there are any new stories out there, new companies, new discoveries, please send those our way. It's one thing we've noticed with a lot of the companies that have been sent to us is that these stocks have been around for quite a while. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but when you deal with discovery plays, some of these junior stocks, it's nice to get some of these new stories because it can also push markets higher. It's Quinton, something you and I were talking about after our last segment, where you even brought up to me saying, look, you know a lot of these stories. Where are some of the new ones? You want to make a comment on this, Quinton? How it does seem like there's so many stocks that have been around for so long. That's probably why they have that following, but we're looking for some new stories here.
Yeah, and look, this isn't no intention to belittle any of the stories we'll talk about today, but I think what we need to see in the mining industry is a constant rejuvenation, new companies, new stories coming in. If we don't see that, it doesn't bode well. The pipeline has to be full, and exploration is really about success and failure. More often failure, unfortunately, but you need a constant, healthy stream of companies, new projects, new companies, to constantly have that opportunity to make that discovery, the thing that's going to return multiples for people that are listening to this broadcast.
So that's what we're looking for. Hey, keep on sending us all of the companies, and we will keep on going through all of them. We still have, I think, 15, almost 20 companies to get to. But any news stories that catch your eyes, please make sure to send those over to my email address, fleck@kereport.com. Quinton, let's start with the first company here, Irving Resources. It's one that I know you've talked about in the past. Irving is traded on the CSE under the symbol IRV and on the OTCQX under the symbol IRVRF. Irving's focused in Japan. They hold a wide range of projects. They have been around for a while. One thing I do want to touch on is the share structure. Managed to keep this share structure quite tight with just about 34 million shares outstanding. But Quinton, in terms of your role with the company, you're also a director and technical advisor. Talk to us about what you like about Japan and Irving's focus there, please.
Look, Irving has a very focused business model in Japan. We are looking for smelter flux, and I've talked about this on several broadcasts. But just to reiterate, look, the idea here is that we find material. These are high-grade gold, silver veins that are very high in silica content and can be used for smelter flux. And what I love about Japan is the company has dozens of smelters. Many of the major mining companies or mining houses that we know about in Japan, like Mitsui, Sumitomo Metal Mining, Sumitomo Corporation, Nippon, which is now JX, Mitsubishi, Dowa, and so forth. They all have smelters. And each one of these things is hungry for silica smelter flux. And if you find this material, if you can find high-grade silica, there are buyers. There are ready buyers in Japan. We've already started talks with JX recently about, some of the stuff that we found at Omu up in Hokkaido, actually trying to figure out how to make a straight line path to get it into production and use it for that smelter flux they need. So that's why I love the geology of Japan. The geologic potential of the country is absolutely fantastic. It's been a historic gold producer. Most people don't know that, but it's actually produced a considerable amount of gold. It has today one of the highest grade operating gold mines in the world called Hishikari. Most of these are hot spring deposits. They're related to the volcanism, the volcanoes that have occurred throughout Japan over many, many millions of years now. And these hot spring events, these hot spring systems can create some absolutely fantastic bonanza grade deposits. So we're in an excellent position, being one of the few first movers into this country.
So, what are the type of drill results that you need to watch for that do satisfy this whole smelter flux potential? Where you said, look, no milling is required, high silica, precious metals rich type of veins. But what drill results do those look like in terms of widths, in terms of grade? Can you give us a ballpark here?
Okay, so it kind of ranges from near surface silica rich bodies. So for example, at Omu, we found a sinter deposit. This is a hot spring pool that basically is solid silica, and it occurs at grassroots. It's basically at surface and extends down maybe 5-10 meters up to 20 to 30 meters below surface. It can be mined in bulk. It can be mined very easily in bulk and put into bulk bags that are shipped to smelters. This map here shows you many of the smelters across Japan. Everything's accessible more or less by ocean freight. You can put stuff on a barge and ship it just about anywhere. But in that case, the Omu sinter, it's not all that high grade. Okay, it's about a gram gold, something like that. So in that case, don't need super high grade. But if you mine veins, okay, these would be narrow structures that fed the hot springs. Yeah, you're probably going to need higher grade material, especially if you go underground on these. Now that's where things like Hishikari come to mind. Okay, Hishikari is shown in the lower left of this map. It is an operating gold mine. It's one of the highest grade operating gold mines in the world. Everybody, hardly anybody knows about the mine, but those who do think that it's there's something unique about it. No, it's high grade, yes, but it's really just your kind of average hot spring system. Happens to be a big one. But the material isn't milled at Hishikari. They don't have a mill. They simply sort it, put it in bulk bags, and ship it to smelters. It doesn't get any better than that, and that's what we're looking for. High grade vein intercepts that are rich in silica, or large volumes of silica at surface, maybe not so high grade in gold and silver, but ones that could be mined in bulk and used for smelter flex.
So, Quinton, I moved on to the slide here for Irving's projects. The company does hold a wide range of projects spread out throughout the country. Which ones are your favorite? Which ones are the company moving forward most aggressively? Give us an update here, kind of isolating the projects you like.
Certainly. Look at Omu, which is way up at the north there. It is on the island of Hokkaido. It's near the northern shore. This project has 3 major hot spring centers within it, and we found gold in all of them. Okay, so the Omu Center, which I talked about, very large body of near surface silica that looks like it's amenable to bulk mining and could be put onto a barge. The ocean's literally like 500 meters from the property. Okay, this is a remarkable opportunity to put something into production. But then you also have high grade vein systems like at Omui, which is part of the Omu project. We have very high grade, like bonanza grade veins that again are high in silica and could be also added to that silica flux operation. Hokuryu, which is another project at Omu, it's another hot spring center, also generates high grade veins. So I really love Omu. I think it's our most advanced project, but it's also the one that I think we can see move forward to production fairly quickly. And it's going to be in an unconventional sense, right? We don't have to build a mill. We don't have to build a tailings facility and things like that. We are simply producing silica for export or to these various smelters all around the country. Now, the other one that I'm very focused on is Yamagana, which is way down there in the south, lower left of the map, so southwest. Yamagana is the nearest neighbor to the Hishikari deposit. It's only about 11 kilometers straight line between Hishikari and Yamagana. And in terms of its age and its genesis, the Yamagana project, the deposit there, is nearly identical in every respect to Hishikari. It's the same age in terms of the host rocks, the age of the system. It's also seen various sub or post mineral events that we see similar to Hishikari. So I think if we're going to find another Hishikari replicate, it's going to be Yamagana. And we just recently drilled our first hole there. We completed the hole a couple of months ago, and we announced results about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And in that drill hole, which is well, away from the existing historic mining area there, we found high grade veins. We found a 46 gram per ton individual high grade vein structure. And on your first hole in a project like that, you got to take that seriously. Okay, so we already found high grade. We know there's something there. So I'm very excited about the prospects there, and we will be drilling that again very soon.
So, Quinton, one thing that you've mentioned here is that these could be very easy, quick to bring into production because you're not building out all that infrastructure that you need. What's the permitting look like for something like that, a production scenario like that?
As a smelter flux operation, it's pretty straightforward, believe it or not. The METI organization, which is the bureaucracy that kind of oversees permitting and regulations in Japan, and it's not just for mining, but for many industries. They have kind of a prescriptive formula for advancing a project. You have to put it through a mine plan, but it is not really like a 43-101 compliant mine plan. It's a mine plan light, we'll call it. And, it's really relatively simple and straightforward. In fact, I think if the process to permit that we see in Japan was enacted around the world in other locations, I think you would see mining benefit greatly. But it's really not as complicated as it sounds. You do have to have, community and surface owner buy-in on that. And you also are going to benefit from having associations with large mining companies. And in our case, we have very good associations with a number of large mining companies. And like I said earlier, we've signed recently a letter that agrees Irving will talk with JX about making OMU a new smelter flux source. All right. So if you have a big brother like that coming alongside, you can get stuff permitted.
All right, that takes us through Irving Resources. Thank you for sending that in. Let's now move over to Novo Resources, traded on the TSX under the symbol NVO, that same symbol on the Australian exchange, and on the OTCQX under the symbol NSRPF. Look, there's a lot of drilling going on at Novo Resources. Company holds a lot of land in Australia. They also have a partnership with De Grey Mining at the Becher project. Quinton, you are the co-chairman and director here. So take us through Novo and what is now just purely exploration for the company.
That's right. We've reverted back to an exploration company. We are now focused on the remaining assets, the land positions that we have mainly scattered around the Pilbara region. And we are testing these things very systematically. We've got our Egina joint venture, which is with De Grey. It is proximal to the Hemi discovery that they have. And we have some early results that are very intriguing. You can see right there, 8 meters of nearly 5 grams per ton. That ain't a fluke. Okay, there's stuff happening there, and De Grey is active out there. They're doing quite a bit of work. The summer in Australia is polar opposite, of course. So they were kind of shut off from doing much work in January, February, March, and April, much of April. But now they're kind of back at work. And I expect some more news out of that story this year. I think letting them spend the money there, I think it's a prudent move on our part, while we still get 50% of the exposure to any discovery that's made. So very anxious to see what we turn up at Egina and Nunyeri. We're drilling out there right now. We started drilling, I think, about 2.5 or 3 weeks ago. We should start to see some results coming through from that over the next few weeks. And these are to follow up on some significant results we had back late last year. Okay, we had 6 meters of 6 grams, 11 meters of 2.5 grams, 4 meters of 5.7 grams. You can see in the table there. These are, albeit early stage drill, intervals or intercepts that are intriguing. The system that we're testing is way bigger than we previously perceived. We now see a target that's about 2.5 or 3 kilometers along strike, and we're trying to follow up on a broader brush. So all of those drill holes were targeting one area. Now we're testing a much larger swath of that project, and we'll be quite anxious to see what comes out of that. Now, up in the Karatha district, we are doing some work up there. A lot of people think that we haven't been, but we have. We've actually been looking at some of the mineralization occurs in basement rocks underneath the sedimentary package of the the Fortescue group there, and we found some really interesting things that might become drill targets later this year, or should be drilled later this year, I should say. We're also testing, doing that similar level of work at the Balabala project, which is closer to the coast. It's in the flat country. And then we also just completed and announced results from Belltopper, which is down in Victoria. So in the southeast of Australia, in Victoria State, we have a project that has geology very similar to the Fosterville mine, which is to the north, about 45 kilometers. And we're testing that area. We did announce some results. They're not super high grade, but there are a few, decent intervals, like 3 meters or 15 grams or so in the recent published data. But it's one that we're gonna go back and look again, see if we can refine our targets and test some more.
So, Quinton, would you say one of these is a flagship outside of that Egina JV? Because there has been drilling. You guys are working through all of these projects, but has one really stood out to you as the key, I guess, value proposition for the company?
At this point, I would say that not any one particular project that we're looking at here is the flagship. Okay, we're giving all of these things a fair shake. I would say a fair, even shake in terms of budget and time and commitment. The Egina joint venture, of course, is operated by De Grey, so they kind of dictate what goes on there. But otherwise, we're simply, shaking the tree pretty hard in each case to see if we make discovery. But that leads me into another important point, Corey, is that, we are relatively well endowed with cash and equities that probably, I don't know the exact total right off the top of my head, but probably total, there we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can't make my life easier. There we go, down there at the bottom. Australian $47.7 million. And that really sets us apart from most of the junior mining companies out there. There are some that I would expect to be monetized in the not too distant future, either partially or wholly. And that's going to enable us to kind of continue doing the work of testing these things, but also looking at new opportunities. Okay, we are not afraid to look at new opportunities, both in Australia and quite frankly even overseas. Other countries like North America. So we are on the hunt for future opportunity.
Now, in terms of, again, kind of that De Grey partnership, or would the company maybe work these projects up to also bring in other partners to drill them?
That's certainly a possibility. Yes, I wouldn't rule it out.
Okay. Anything else that we should cover here in terms of Novo? I know a lot of drill results still to come, a lot of different projects, trying to filter through all of them. Oh yeah, we also have this lithium or this battery metals play as well. Any comments on how that can add value?
I'll touch, go back up to the previous slide there. I'll touch on it. Like, I don't know, maybe it's downwards, and maybe
this one.
There we go. Okay. Look, this Quartz Hill joint ventures with Liatam, which is a mining and exploration company, and they're looking at a belt of rocks that we didn't spend much time on, but they're actually finding remarkable lithium results. You can see here several or quite a few analyses in the percentages of lithium oxide, but then also very high tantalum and surprisingly high cesium, which if you know anything about cesium, it is a very, very valuable metal. Okay. The oil industry needs it quite badly for certain applications. Anyway, this is intriguing. Now, I'm not particularly a lithium kind of guy. Okay. And I've said that many times, so I'm very happy to let Liatam do the work on this project, but who knows, maybe they find something that's absolutely hands down extraordinary here, and we're a beneficiary because we're in joint venture with a 20% interest. So that's definitely intriguing. It's not my big selling point, but it could be a big benefit to the company. But I think the other thing I would add before leaving Novo is that we have been making quite a few changes. I notice, or people have noticed that we've changed, seen some directors come and go. We are kind of rebuilding the company, not only from the investor perspective as an exploration company, but with the board and so forth. So we're kind of building that more geology and exploration focused type board. that will take us into the future.
Okay. Well, Quinton, thank you for that update on Novo. I will also be getting a company update from management in the very near term. So everyone pay attention to that. Final company we're going to talk about here, Arizona Gold and Silver, trade on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol AZS and on the OTCQB under the symbol AZASF. This company is really all about the Philadelphia Gold and Silver Project. Here it is right there, the flagship project. Hold a couple other assets. Company just got permits to drill this Red Hills gold target. There has been some small drill programs at this Philadelphia project. Quinton, what do you know about this asset?
Yeah, look, the geologist behind this, Greg Hahn, he's kind of a local area geologist here in the U.S. And I know Greg loosely. Tracked him for many years. He's a creative geologist. He's had some very interesting success finding some unique copper mineralization in the Western U.S. and some other projects that he's worked on. But I like his approach. He usually goes out and finds one good property that he can focus on. Yes, they do have a couple other projects here, but this project, the Philadelphia property, is their main focus. And he likes to pick it apart, like truly do forensics on it and on the system and try to make discovery here. I think the results are looking very strong. It is a hot spring system. It's part of a bigger mining district here, the Oatman district. And this is a classic hot spring system. It's got the vein component, but also the near surface exhalative portions of it preserved in a few places. And they're seeing the bonanza grades in many drill holes. Okay, it's not a nice uniform bonanza vein that's continuous. It's almost every epithermal system like this has high grade shoots within, but it's got those bonanza shoots. Okay, so I think that's a good sign that he's in a strong system. I also see, more recently or I should say more distant past, they tested more of the bulk tonnage potential of the property. They did have some long intervals that, like the 115 meters you're seeing there, 1.3 grams, that, that are great. Is there a huge tonnage here of bulk tonnage? Probably not. It's probably similar to other deposits in this district, in the Oatman district, where you might have a few million tons or a few tens of millions of tons of material. But, in aggregate, you could potentially see a 1 million+ ounce discovery here. Yes.
Now I'm going to take it to this other slide here, the slide 12, that shows all the different areas that this company has drilled, really trying to tie together this project and tie together this almost 2 kilometers of strike. Any insights you want to give us here on how these systems could work, if this could even work to tie together that 2 kilometers?
Sure. Look, you can see the rhyolite dome. It's kind of highlighted with a purple fish-looking shaped blob there. That is probably maybe a causative intrusion, or temporally is a very closely timed intrusion to the mineralization here. Is it the target itself? No, the target is the vein system that trends northeast through there. And they have a series of patented claims, which means, both surface and minerals are owned with the claim. And they seem to, kind of pick this thing apart. Like I said, Greg likes to come in and really do forensics or pick apart a discovery like this. I would say there's a potential for a nominal amount of resource in the bulk tonnage, the rhyolite hosted stuff, but it's this high grade vein that I think could, with a bit of luck, generate, say, 500,000 to 1 million ounce level discovery.
Okay. Well, this company is, I think, going to get back onto site here. I'm also going to move it down. You can see kind of where some of these drill results are, more near surface as well. Looking for that high grade.
Yeah.
Any comments on that there, Quinton?
You can see the shoots. It's very classic epithermal system, where you can see high grade shoots forming. That's to be expected. You have to drill these on a fairly close grid to build up ounces. And that's what they're doing here. The spacing on those is anywhere from maybe 35 meters in the closest space in some of these areas, where the shoots are defined, up to maybe 50 to 100 meters in other areas. I would expect the company to persist drilling this thing. They've already, tested about 2 kilometer strike. I would expect them to continue to fill this out as they go along and probably discover more high-grade shoots.
Well, and just a couple other slides here for everyone to look over. There's the bulk tonnage potential. This is the high-grade vein target, something that sounds like you're a bit more interested in. And then also share structure here for the company. Still under 100 million shares, even on a fully diluted basis as of May of this year. Quinton, thank you very much for your time breaking down these companies. It's been a lot of fun doing these Stock Talk episodes with you and working through some of the slide decks as well. We try to get through them as quickly as we can, but I know there's even more that we could talk about for each of these companies. And again, everyone listening, please keep on sending us your companies, the ones that have your interest. And please make a note if they are a newer discovery story, something that we can really dive into. But hey, we enjoy going through all of these companies. So Quinton, again, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it.